Good morning. There's a great white elephant in the room called planet Earth. The religious question. The politicians avoid it. The big business people, well, best they deny it. The academics diminish it, play it down as a historical phenomenon. Well, the lawyers and doctors, they have their own take on it. It's more private, I guess you'd say. You see, I have my tefillin on, these two little amulets with God's names written on them. And this is a command of the Torah. See, I'm outwardly religious. I try to keep some mitzvot. It's a big job. But it's not a white elephant in my house. It's a very pleasant elephant in its place on the pampas grasses of great Africa. But for some reason, the people don't want to bring up the religious question. The question of, why do the Arabs hate us? Why do they attack us? Why do they want to murder us? Why do they decapitate soldiers and they found a head in a freezer in Gaza? Dismember babies. Gang rape women in the middle of battle. They're not interested in peace. They keep telling us we're not interested in peace, and we keep trying to make this peace. Oh, give us a few hostages, please. Throw in a few live ones, too. What is that? Our government is in complete denial about their religious ferocity. Now, do we call it the religion of God or the religion of the anti-God, the antithetical position about life itself? I've lived near and amongst Arabs for 35 years, done business with them, spoken with them, drank coffee with them. They seem like, a lot of them seem very civilized, educated, pleasant people. But what do you do when you're an educated, civilized, pleasant Arab and the people of Gaza themselves support the idea of destroying Israel to take this nation, to take this land? Hamas took Gaza captive, and then a large percentage of the captives became Hamas. So where do you draw the line between a religious terrorist and a secular terrorist? Where do you draw the line between someone who believes in killing Jews as a methodology, as an ambition? Well, you could say between the fanatical religious elements and the non-fanatical. So you mix the two together and you have a society that you can't morally attack. If a kidnapper takes kidnapped people into their little cave somewhere and they say, bring the money or we're going to kill them. Okay, if you have the money, you try to pay them off. But Hamas is not interested in the money. They're interested in killing the people who are willing to pay. They're interested in killing those hostages even if they don't get paid. They have one goal. And as ridiculous as it sounds, that this miniature terrorist apparatus across the valley over there, when I see them out there, it's a beautiful day here. Over that hill, you can see the flares in the rockets sometimes on a good day. Maybe it's a bad day. But nobody brings up this issue of how you fight terrorists that take hostage of their own people and then call them their benefactors. The people of Gaza have free choice. And the proxy nation is beholden to the one that sends them all the money and the weapons and the rockets, and that's Iran. But we don't want a war with Iran, kind of. We don't want to really attack them, but we kind of do. We want to get rid of their nuclear program, but it's too hard. What's going on? What's going on, folks? Sometimes the Americans say, we'll give you weapons, sometimes no. Under the Biden administration, what's been happening, and under the Obama administration even more, is the empowerment of Iran, the empowerment of the proxies. Now, if Obama is not a supporter of terrorism and global jihad, I don't know who is. Because he made billions of dollars available to Iran to use against us. So I don't know who Obama really is. I know his father was a Muslim, and I know that Islamist people hold that once a child is born in Islam, he's Islam for life. So that would make Obama a Muslim. And he could talk Christian all he wants. I know he heard a few speeches from the black Muslims of Chicago, and probably heard a few from Jeremiah Wright, that fellow anti-Semite. Why don't the Jews call the anti-Semitism for what it is? Why don't we call it? That's the political entity we're dealing with, and we're not letting it onto the table. It's the white elephant. It's actually very black right now. Dark, scarred, ugly, bloody elephant. That's the political question that they don't want on the table, because once you put religion and politics together, you weaken the powers of the oligarchy that tends to benefit making billions of dollars from war. So you see, there's an old buddy network here between the oligarchies that produce weapons, that control nations and economies, between their representatives, the politicians, between the representatives on the Islamic Jihad side versus those on the Western side. America and England have been fiddling in the politics of Iran for about 70 years, maybe 60 years. If you follow the story over there, you see what the CIA and the M16 has done to the Iranian economy, to the Iranian political structure, to empower the jihad in Iran. Iranians don't want jihad. They got it. They were also taken captive. And if you look throughout all these fiefdoms and these, they call them kingdoms. I don't know how you make a kingdom because a bunch of politicians get together after World War I and start to slice up the land and pick friends. Who's going to be the king of Saudi Arabia, the king of Jordan, the king of Lebanon, the king, give me a break, kings. These are mafioso Arabs that had more power than their friends, and they've been struggling for power for hundreds, if not thousands of years, for the oil lands of the Middle East. So when one guy beats another guy, he calls himself king. Is that what the Judaism position is? Are they kings? Do they act like kings? No, they act like warlords. They act like tyrants. They murder their own people, as Assad has proven. So when are we going to put the religious question on the table as Jews? When is that elephant going to be revealed? And call it for what it is. In the Bible, we have Avimelech of Gerar, and he has constituencies all over his kingdom, which is right out there also, by the way. And when they fill the wells that Yitzhak Avinu dug, because wells were like life-saving instruments back in the biblical days. A well was worth more than gold. He said, I don't know who filled your wells. He disassociates himself with his associates. He says, they're not connected to me. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not responsible for them. What kind of king is that? And what do the people of Gaza do? Oh, it's Hamas. It's not us. And the same thing in Lebanon, in Jordan. Nobody's responsible unless they're looking good. Nobody wants to call the war what it is. It is a jihad. It is a religious war. And the West, including the Western Israeli left-wing government, and a lot of the right wing and a lot of the center, I don't know exactly how you want to split them up. Depends on what suit they wear each day or which tie they put around their neck. They're not calling it for what it is. It's a religious war. And that's what it needs to be called, and that's how it needs to be fought. Those people don't want peace. They want to kill until the end, and they'll dedicate themselves and 5 generations of their children to kill more. Now tell me what you would do if your enemy wants to kill your unborn grandchildren that have yet to come down the pike. Tell me, what would they like to do? What are you going to do when they call your son to fight a war that has no design to end? Because the powerful people, the Jewish people, the people that have been given the blessing over this land, refuse to exercise their power according to the given issues on the table in the war room. No one wants to call it what it is. Religious fanatics, there's only one thing to do with them. Only one thing. I've been around a few religious fanatics. They're intolerable, whatever religion they are. Muslim, Christian, Jewish. They're intolerable because they invoke God's name for their own personal agenda. They're using the the masquerade of piety to justify their war aims. And that has to be put on the table too. If someone doesn't do it soon, well, they'll keep drafting new, young, beautiful Jewish boys and girls to go off and fight this really poorly conceived, poorly understood and treated warfare. And perhaps the one person who will get up and fight the war for what it is will be their true hero. May he come soon.